Good evening, everyone. It's Monday, June 2nd. It's 5:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting of the Harrison Town Village Council to order. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting takes place on the traditional territory of the Stahlis. Public hearing. There is one tonight for zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025, 285 Spruce Street. I'd like to call this public hearing to order. This public hearing is being convened in accordance with the Local Government Act in order to hear public comment on the Village of Harrison Hot Springs zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025. The site that is the subject of this bylaw has a civic address of 285 Spruce Street. In accordance with the legislation in the village's public notice bylaw number 1200, 2024, the time, place, and details of this public hearing and the proposed bylaw were advertised on May 26, 2025 via direct mail out and on the village's website and public notice posting boards. An information package on the proposed bylaw has been available on the village's website and at the village office since that time. All persons who believe that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw must be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaw that is the subject of this hearing. Therefore, any person attending who believes their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw may be heard on the matters contained in the bylaw. Please restrict your remarks to matters of direct consequence to the proposed bylaw. This hearing is not a forum in which elected officials debate amongst themselves or with proponents or opponents. Council may ask questions for clarification of a speaker's point. Public hearings are subject to the rules of natural justice and procedural fairness. Therefore, to ensure the applicant is given a fair hearing, Council must enter into this hearing with an open mind amenable to persuasion. At this time, I ask Council to please declare any conflicts of interest if they exist. After this public hearing has concluded, the Council may, without further notice, give whatever effect they believe appropriate to the representations made at this hearing. The bylaw will be presented to Council for further consideration at the next appropriate Council meeting. Our planning consultant will now introduce zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025, as read a second time at the regular council meeting of April 7th, 2025. Our planning consultant, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the Mayor and Council have deemed it advisable to amend the Village of Harrison Hot Springs zoning bylaw number 115, 2017, the zoning bylaw for the Village of Harrison Hot Springs as adopted May 7, 2018. Now therefore, in open meeting assembled, the Mayor and Council of the Village of Harrison Hot Springs enact as follows. Citation. This bylaw may be cited for all purposes as the Village of Harrison Hot Springs zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025. On the map amendment, that's on Schedule A, the zoning map for the Village of Harrison Hot Springs bylaw number 1115, 2017, be amended by rezoning the lands legally described as Lot 11, Block 5, Fractional Section 13, Township 4, Range 29, west of the 6th Meridian, New Westminster District Plan 251, parcel identification number 011 535 733, outlined in red and crosshatched on Schedule 1 of this bylaw from the Residential 2 Duplex R2 zone to Residential 3 Small Lot R3 zone, and that the map appended hereto designated as Schedule 1 showing such amendment is an integral part of this bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. The developer is now invited to make a presentation regarding the zoning amendment bylaw.
Good evening, councilors. Is this good? Okay, sorry. Good evening, councilors. My name is Catherine Trushenko, and I I grew up in Mission, but I spent all of my summers, my childhood in Harrison at Greenpoint by the lakeside. And when our family was looking where to build our home, we bought 285 Spruce Street. And we want to be able to move and grow in Harrison. And we want to be able to do that by keeping the bungalow and the family that's in the corner of the lot. We can't do that with the existing R2 zoning, so we are requesting to be able to rezone from an R2 to an R3 so that we will be able to build our home on the small single-family lot and keep the neighbors at the bungalow. I have a short presentation that I've put together to illustrate our proposal. So as I mentioned, it's a 285 Spruce. We're looking to rezone and then eventually subdivide from an R2 to an R3 lot. Oh, it didn't visualize right, sorry. So that's Google Maps view. We are a corner lot on Echo and Spruce Street. I'm sorry, my presentation didn't format correctly. Okay, so what we have here is a aerial view of our lot here. We have Echo and Spruce. At the corner, we have the bungalow, and then we have a 400 square foot cottage from the 1950s that we're looking to replace with a small family home. And in the proposed subdivision, we would be looking to essentially divide the lot in half. And then we believe that would meet with the OCP designation for low-density residential and meet the village's housing diversity initiative. We're not looking to make any changes to the fabric of the neighborhood. The lots would essentially be the same, and there's no height or variances that would be looking into. And there'd be plenty of parking. We'd be looking to have at least 2 vehicles worth of parking on each lot. When the rezoning and subdivision would be done, no on-street parking would be anticipated or any changes in traffic patterns. And then there's already currently 2 structures. We have a bungalow and our cottage, so they're both using utilities, water, sewage. So there'd be no impacts on existing systems that we see minimal changes. And we'd be looking to build something in a similar aesthetic to the cottage, which we have, shingles, white windows, keeping the aesthetic of the village. And I mean, if you've ever gone down Spruce Street where we have the little cottage with all the grapevines, it's an aesthetic and a look that we'd want to keep up in the neighborhood. And that's essentially it. We're not expecting any impact on public services or any facilities with that rezoning and eventual subdivision change, building our home on the small lot. And that's we request for the consideration to rezone from an R2 to R3 so we can build our home and keep our bungalow neighbors. That's it.
Thank you very much. The village, our planning consultant, Mr. Cossey, have we received any written submissions?
As of 4 o'clock this afternoon, Your Worship, we've received no written submissions.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. I would now like to thank the presenter, and I would now like to invite the public to speak and present comments. In the interest of hearing all persons within a reasonable time frame, each person shall have 5 minutes. Further opportunity will be afforded for persons to speak a second or third time, once all persons have had the opportunity to speak. Myself as chair has the authority to stop any speaker who is not commenting on the facts pertinent to this bylaw. Members of the public who are attending in person who wish to speak, please clearly state your name and address for the record and proceed with comments. Are there comments tonight from anyone attending in person?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. More of a question, really. I appreciate the lady's desire to better utilize the lot. It belonged to Jack Link, who was the first employee of the village back in '49 and a longtime resident of Harrison. And the little cottage is great, but it would be much better utilization of that part of the lot if it was to be developed into a single-family home. But my question is, when you rezone it from R2 to R3 and create two smaller lots, and I didn't hear the planner say that those were in conformity with the minimum lot size in the R3 zone, so I'd like that clarified. And then my question is, if you demolish the cottage, are you limited to a single-family home there, or can you build a duplex or a threeplex on that lot? And is that part of the approval that's being granted today? Is there any limitation that says it must be a single-family, or it can be a duplex, or it can be a threeplex? I'd just like clarification of the density that would be allowed on an R3 lot of that particular size. Thank you.
Thank you for your two questions. If I understood the first one, and perhaps we can get some guidance from our land use planning consultant, Mr. Cossey, does the zoning bylaw, the size of lots conform with what's expected in the zoning bylaw for R3?
Yes, Your Worship. We would never, village staff would never put an illegal bylaw in front of council for their adoption. So it does meet the minimum requirements for the R3 zone. And it's R3 is a single family dwelling. And these aren't really anything to do with the application.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. So the answer to the first question is yes, it does conform with the bylaws for lot size, and the bylaw speaks to a single-family dwelling and does not speak to duplexes or triplexes. Are there any other comments from persons attending this evening in person? Is there anyone attending remotely who has questions? Anyone on Zoom?
Anybody attending by Zoom, if you wish to make comment on this application, please use the raise your hand function. There are no comments.
Thank you, CAO. For a second time, is there anyone else attending in person who would like to provide a comment or submission to council regarding zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025? And for a second time, are there any comments or questions from anyone participating on Zoom this evening?
Does it appear so, Your Worship?
Thank you. For a third and final time, if anyone else attending in person who would like to provide comment or submission to council regarding zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025. And for a third and final time, are there any comments or questions from anyone participating remotely on Zoom tonight?
There are none, Your Worship.
Thank you, CAO. Hearing no further comments, the public hearing for zoning amendment bylaw number 1225, 2025 is hereby closed, and council will now resume its regular meeting. That takes us to item 4 in our agenda, introduction of late. Thank you, Scott. The introduction of late items. Are there any late items to introduce tonight?
Your Worship,
Councillor Facho.
Yes, if I may introduce under new business, in regards to additional signage for all types of smoking products in the village core.
So Councillor Fascio would like to add, seconded, is there a seconder to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Jackson. Corporate Officer, where would be a good place to place that in our agenda for discussion?
Under new business, please.
Thank you. Yes, number 17, new business.
And I'll just summarize that as signage for smoking, I guess, in the village public areas. Are there any other new items to introduce tonight? Seeing none, item 5 is approval of the agenda. I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as we've amended it. Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion to that motion.
Pardon me, Your Worship, that's as amended.
As amended? I tried to say that with the new addition. Thank you. Any discussion to the motion to approve an amended agenda? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? And that carries. Item 6, declarations of conflict of interest arising from matters in our now approved agenda. Seeing none, I'll move to item 7, adoption of council minutes.
Move, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Swinebands. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And those minutes are adopted. Business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, I'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is delegations and petitions, and there are none this evening, as I understand it's correct, which takes us to item 10, correspondence. Could I have a motion receiving the correspondence A to C? Moved by Councillor Schweinben, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion on that motion. I'll call the vote. All in favor, and that carries. Business arising from correspondence. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Regarding item C, the email dated from Agassiz Harrison Community Services requesting a member of council be appointed as a liaison to their board of directors. I do think that this is a very encouraging request. And with that, I would like to put forth a motion to appoint Mayor Tallon as the liaison to Agassiz Harrison Community Services Board of Directors.
Second, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Vital and seconded by Councillor Fascio that the mayor be a liaison on the board of directors for Agassiz Harrison Community Services. Any discussion to that motion? I'd be happy to do it. I think it's a very important organization, a very well-run organization that provides a lot of important services to residents of Harrison Hot Springs and Agassiz as well. So I'd be happy to do that and work with the board and liaise. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a vote on that. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Is there any other business arising out of correspondence this evening? Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Just in relation to item A, under correspondence, a letter from UBCM. It's very pleased and that our resolution was endorsed by the membership at the Lower Mainland Local Government Association. And as is standard in the next step, is it will be presented to delegates during resolution session at UBCM. if it is endorsed by those delegates, then UBCM will take the opportunity to advocate directly with the province. So that's the next step. Thank you, Mayor Tallon.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Yeah, I recall the discussion on the floor of the Lower Mainland, LMLGA, Lower Mainland Local Government Association, and you spoke very well on this. Thank you. Any other discussion on business arising from correspondence? We'll next move to item 12 in the agenda, reports from councillors. Who would like to start this evening? Councillor Faccio.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, not much this evening, just on the 26th of May, through the Community in Bloom committee, the students from the Harrison Elementary School did a clean-up of our village, and they were treated to lunch by the Resort and Spa Hotel, some 126 students and teachers. So thank you to the resort and shoppers in Agassiz. They supplied the water and juices for the kids. And I'd like to thank our staff. They had part in this organization. And as I mentioned, also the Community in Bloom. It was a great event. The weather was good. And it was nice to see the students, taking some initiative and learning how to keep our beautiful village clean. So that was a great event, which has been going on for many years, and we have to thank the Resort Hotel who supply the lunch for them there. The other one is just a brief report of the main part of the FVRD meeting on the May 22nd. I can't divulge, as the most large part of it was done in a closed meeting, but the only part I will bring out, which is in the open, was the Sub-Regional Transit Service Establishment Bylaw Amendment requisition increase for 2025. So there's going to be an increase. It was previously it was 312,500. That the service area is partially funded by the Village of Harrison, District of Kent, City of Chilliwack, and Electoral Area D, which is Popcom. The bylaw currently in place allows for a maximum annual tax requisition of that amount, which I just read out. And they're looking at increasing the annual tax as per the way we do our taxes, regarding so much per 1,000 of assessed value. So there has been no change to the allocations. This is for the 2025-2029 financial plan. There's been no change to the allocations that each municipality or electoral area contribute to the maximum value. However, the previous maximum value has been updated to a property tax value rate. That's the way they're going to do it. So the increase is going to be $48,000 total requisition, compared to the 2024, which was approximately 22,000 above the current maximum requisition amount. So that's there's a bylaw that has had the approval of the Inspector of Municipalities, so that's in force. So we look for an increase in our requisition when our financial officer does our budget. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Faccio. Councillor Vital.
Well, thank you, Mayor Tallon. For the first time in, I can't remember, I have no report tonight. I triple checked my calendar because I wasn't sure, but as you are aware, I had been away for for some time. But I do want to take the opportunity once again, and I'll be doing this at every council meeting. Please mark Sunday, September 14th on your calendars. That is the annual Harrison Agassiz Terry Fox Run. I did have a discussion with the foundation this week, and if you register on, you can register online. Our run is up there, and you can donate. And if you are inclined to purchase any t-shirts or sweatshirts or hats from that website, something new this year is that total will automatically go to funds raised for our run. So registration will take place at 9 o'clock. A little bit of an opening after that, and the run commences from 10 o'clock till noon. So thank you, Mayor Tallon.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Your Worship. May the 21st, I met with the library board in Abbotsford. Things are going well. However, they are very concerned because of the audio books and digital books right now are much more expensive than the hardcover or softcover books, and also the threat of tariffs. So we'll just have to see how that works out in the near future. But we do have, financially, it's really well under control. Tourism Harrison met on May the 21st. We're working on July the 1st. We're still looking for entrance in the parade. It should be a smacking good day. And I'll see now, on May the 22nd, the Communities in Bloom met. The Garden of the Week is starting, I believe, this week, so you'll see them out and about. We have lined up a big day for when the judges do come. Looking forward to it, Your Worship, but I think you might be away on holidays, so you'll miss it. Also, the school children, of course, as Councillor Faster said, came. I think what really impressed me about it was how well behaved the children were and how enthusiastic they were about having a hot dog and a day away from school, I guess, and then going out and cleaning the beach. It was worth it just to see that, and makes me know that our future is going to be well served. And what else do I have here? And tomorrow is flower planting day, June the 3rd, starts at 9:30. Bring your shovel and your gardening gloves and come out and help us. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Schweinvans.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Just one thing to report on. Last week was the annual general meeting for the the Agassiz Harrison Historical Society. And a couple of months ago, Maria came in and was a delegate here in these chambers, and she's really turned the organization around, and you'll notice a fresh coat of paint on everything there. And visitation is up to over 8,000 people per year, which is almost double over the last couple of years. Over 40,000 people engaging online. They've done a lot of online cataloging of the exhibits, and she's really turned things around. I'd like to note a couple of prominent volunteers from Harrison that are really involved. First is Jean Hicks. We'll all know Jean Hicks from her fundraising. She's in charge of fundraising for the organization. She'll be hitting you up for tickets for the meat draw probably a couple of times a year. And they're doing a party at the Legion this coming Friday night as well. So if anybody would like to participate, you can get tickets. And another volunteer that I'd like to point out is Mark Ferrero. He's a resident here in Harrison. He's been very involved in renewing the caboose. It's got a French paint job. There's woodworking that's been done on that, and as well as the electrical and some windows replacement, and as well as a little speedster that used to be used by the country doctors to get between Agassiz and Harrison Mills and Mission. That he has helped to refurbish as well, so it's kind of fun. Our president, John Van Leerhoven, who some of you may know, he stepped down to stay on the board, but he stepped down as president, and Roy Vanderwyk has stepped in. So some of you may know Roy. So I'd encourage you to, everybody in the public, to support the museum, give it a look. It's got a fresh look at it, and it's lots of fun for an afternoon. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinmans. Item 13 is reports from mayor. We do have a report tonight. I'd first like to just acknowledge all the contributions, advice, support from council last week. Busy week with the fence and the remediation project undertaken by the resort. A lot of time was spent by council. I'd just like to acknowledge all the time they spent and the support and advice that I received, and also the time and the good working relationships staff have with many different agencies, seeing, I think, a good conclusion with the fence being taken down over the weekend. I understand the posts are coming out in the next couple of days, and the road will be returned to its former condition. On May 26th, I attended the beach cleanup as well, and I concur with the comments made that that was a good event, and certainly like to thank the committee for instigating that, and the school for allowing the children to participate, and of course the resort and shoppers for keeping everyone with drinks and hot dogs and cookies. It was a great event. I attended I went through on May 28th the reflection on belonging that was here in Memorial Hall. A really interesting display and exhibit about new Canadians finding their way into Canada and belonging. It was interesting, and I was really glad that we were able to host that. And on May 29th, I was a judge at what is known as Idea X. And this is something coming out of Walnut Grove Secondary School in Langley. And our office was getting phone call after phone call. My email box was filling up with requests to meet in January, February, with student after student and teams of students all wanting to know about Harrison Hot Springs and wildfire protection. And turns out one of the teachers there, they do this is the third or fourth year in a row of doing this Idea X competition. They get teams that were self-organized, volunteer, and the project this year was wildfire. And they chose wildfire protection around Harrison Lake, and in particular the village of Harrison Hot Springs, our village. We had one team of students actually took a bus from Langley here one morning, one middle of the week, and they sat down with me. I took several video calls with other teams. Anyway, this was the end result, was judging 8 different teams. And it's important, well, largely because the trust fund, the Langley School Trust Fund, puts $20,000 towards the winning team or teams. So as judges, we've got to select the winners and how the $20,000 was apportioned between teams. Anyway, it was a really good experience. Many ideas. The students really were quite creative in a lot of their ideas. A few common themes that sort of occurred across a number of the presentations and to proposals. Part of their projects were lots of education, informing residents about the risk of wildfires and steps they can take. A lot of the fire smarting stuff I saw several times. There were a number of apps that were shown, and similar types of things on your phone, and how they were scaling it up, not only for Harrison, but could be applied to other communities. And of course, there were apps with AI, and then drones, and then lots of drones looking at things, heat sensors, smoke detectors, and drones with AI as well. So it was a very interesting afternoon. I was happy to be part of that. The winning teams, if I can remember the names, Team Blazes, Team Willow, and Team Sages. So were the 3 top teams. So that was a really interesting afternoon. And that is the end of my report. We now have item 14, and reports from minutes and committees and commissions. The corporate officer, do you want to walk us through this?
Thank you. Before I proceed, I just want to let council know page 21 of your agenda packages, when we were converting the document over to PDF, if something with the header went wrong. So there's a corrected version there for you, and there's some copies on the back, but that's supposed to be the Communities in Bloom Committee meeting minutes of May 8th, 2025. So the first recommendation there is that the following adopted minutes be received for information. Item A is age-friendly committee meeting minutes from March 20th. Item B is age-friendly committee meeting minutes from April 17th. And then item C is the Communities in Bloom Committee meeting minutes of May 8th.
Who moves, Your Worship?
Moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion on that motion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Next item, Corporate Officer.
Thank you. One more item under this section, which is a report from the Age-Friendly Committee. This document is very similar. It's a copy of the terms of reference for the Age-Friendly Committee to bring it in line with the new council procedure bylaw. So it will look very familiar to council, as this is the last committee that needed to be brought up to date. And so the recommendation is that council approve the Age-Friendly Committee's terms of reference.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion on that motion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Corporate Officer, item 15 when you're ready.
Thank you. Moving on to reports from staff. Item A is a report from our planning consultant regarding 511 Lillooet Avenue, zoning amendment bylaw number 1193, 2025.
Planning consultant, Mr. Cossey.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is to amend the conditions with the adoption of zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw number 1193, 2023, and replacing it with another statement. In 2023, the village adopted zoning amendment bylaw 1193, 2023, subject to several conditions. One of the conditions of the adoption, the bylaw required the developer to install a zebra crosswalk across Lillooet Avenue. There's been a rethink on this thing, on this sidewalk, and this was based upon an email that was received on April 15th, 2025, and is attached on page number 32 of your agenda package. Lillooet Avenue falls under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transportation and Transit, and the ministry has indicated that they do not support the zebra crosswalk at this location. Zoning amendment bylaw number 1193, 2023 was to be given final reading subject to the following. You can see on page 30, there's those conditions. The one that we're changing is condition number 5. There's no financial considerations associated with this report, and the policy considerations are not applicable. When you go back to the recommendations, Your Worship, on page 29, what we're doing is removing that part of this sentence that's highlighted in yellow, which states, entering into a works and services agreement with the inclusion of the recommended CTS additions on the use of a zebra crosswalk be installed across Lillooet Avenue. The suggestion is that comment be rescinded and replaced with the following: entering into a works and services agreement with the inclusion of the recommended CTS revision dated April 15th, 2025, that the marked crosswalk be placed across Spruce Street on the north side of Lillooet Avenue, and everything else stays the same.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Could I have a motion to the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Schweinben, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Mr. Cossey, your last comment was everything else stays the same. So am I making the right assumption then that there will be a new bus stop still included with the shelter and the benches? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion to the recommendation of the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Corporate Officer, when you're ready.
Thank you. We have another report from our planning consultant regarding the official community plan and zoning bylaw update consultation plan.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is to provide details and a recommendation on how the consultation plan for the updated village official community plan and zoning bylaws should be completed. The provincial legislation framework has shifted within the past few years, and municipalities are now required to align zoning bylaws with official community plans with a focus upon incorporating the village's interim housing reports. In this case, we need to accommodate the total number of housing units needed over at least 20 years. And just on a side, Your Worship, I'd just like to state that in the housing needs report for the years 2021 to 2026, we are required, based upon that application or that assessment, to have 185 units to meet the provincial requirements. To date, we have approved 38. We have pending 146. So as of right now, we're at 184. So we're definitely on target. Anyhow, back to the OCP. The existing OCP was adopted in 2024, and the update will focus on addressing 3 issues. The first issue, as I mentioned earlier, is incorporating the interim housing report into the OCP by creating new housing policies. This would be limited to affordable housing, rental housing, and special needs housing. We also have to incorporate the regional growth context goals into the official community plan as the regional district updated their regional growth strategy plan. So we have to prove through the regional context statements how our OCP is in compliance with the regional growth strategy. And there were some earlier administrative changes that have to be done as well. So those are the 3 issues associated with the updated official community plan. On the zoning bylaw was adopted in 2017, and the update will focus upon 2 issues. These are some administrative issues that have been slated by an earlier council motion to update it and remove some of the definitions, such as when we first were putting it together, the use of the term marijuana was the big thing, and that has subsequently come out as in federal legislation as cannabis. So some of those little things that we have to update to make sure it's still in compliance. The other issue is to make sure that it's compatible with the updated official community plan, which is a standard of all zoning bylaws because they implement the official community plan requirements. So what is the purpose and the function of an official community plan? Well, basically it is a comprehensive policy development designed to guide the village. So how do you implement these sorts of rules and regulations? That is done through the zoning bylaw because that is the key regulatory document that translates the long-term vision and policies of the official community plan into enforceable land use regulations. While the OCP outlines the community aspirations and policy direction, the zoning bylaw is the primary legal mechanism through which these goals are implemented on a day-to-day basis. So when we talk about consultation plans, there's many, many, many models out there that exist. You'll see at the bottom of page 34 of your report, there's the informing approach, your consulting approach, and the involving approach. You'll notice that the informing approach has got an arrow direction from Harrison Hot Spring Council out to the members of the community. The consulting has also got an arrow in from the community into the Harrison Hot Spring Council. That signifies that basically that type of communications is one way. Whereas you look at involving, you'll see it's a double-headed arrow. That means there's communications going back and forth between the parties. And this is what we're striving for, is the consultation model of involving individuals, similar to the model that we utilized when we did the update or the rewrite in 2022. So the overall engagement strategy is to raise awareness, share background information, and inform the public and stakeholders about the proposed updates dealing with the housing side of things. The primary tools for public engagement will be an open house, which will provide an opportunity for community members to learn about the intent and scope of the updates, review any background reports that we prepare, such as the housing report and the population projections, and ask questions. The open house will be supported by information made available through the village's website and other communication channels to ensure transparency and accessibility. So overall, what we have is for each of the engagement goals and the tools, the participation goal of level of public consultation, when we compare those informing, consulting, and involving, you can see what we're trying to achieve through each of these processes. Then on page 36, the overall project update approach, you'll notice that we've got 4 phases associated with the update, which is very similar to the 4 phases that we utilized when we were doing the earlier official community plan. Phase 1 is the awareness building. Phase 2 is review the new concepts. Phase 3, design the new plan. And phase 4 is adoption. And associated with that, you'll see on page 37, the various methods of public input that we will be looking at. One of the things when you're dealing with the official community plan update, the Local Government Act requires that council must consider whether consultation should be early and ongoing throughout the OCP update process. This also means considering the inclusion of, but not be limited to, the following in the consultation process. That's the Fraser Valley Regional District, any adjacent regional district boards that you wish, any adjacent municipal councils that you wish, First Nations as you see fit, local school board, Fraser Cascade, or any local improvement districts, federal or provincial government departments or agencies, the Agricultural Land Commission, and persons and other organizations. Outside of the use of the open house concept and the other items identified above, the suggested external consultation approach is outlined below. Please note that council can change this as required. You can add and delete to this list as you see fit. What we're suggesting is a letter and the suggestion for a follow-up stakeholder meeting or presentation to the Harrison Tourism Society, the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce, letter and a suggestion for follow-up for government-to-government meeting and or presentation with the Stahelis First Nation, letters only to the Agricultural Land Commission, the District of Kent, the Fraser Cascade School District, Fraser Valley Regional District, Fraser Health, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, Harrison Hot Springs Fire Department, and the RCMP. Please note that there are no financial changes to the approved budget and the contract for this project associated with this report. So with that in mind, Your Worship, the recommendations are that Council adopt the below referenced official community plan and zoning bylaw consultation plan.
Moves, Your Worship.
Moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion on the motion. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I'm not sure what we're going to be, I'll just start here. So we need to incorporate more housing, and I'm just wondering if changing this bylaw is going to do that. Like, do we need to look at the entire OCP? Are we taking a crack at that, or is just this the language in bylaw? Maybe you can elaborate on how we're going to fit in more housing if we're just looking at bylaws.
Mr. Cossey.
Thank you, Your Worship. So what we're going to be looking at is the requirements so that we can meet the requirements of what has been mandated down to us by the province. That is, we have to include in there supportive housing, affordable housing, and rental, or special needs housing. So we do that by the policies that we can set up and come up with as we go through the process. And then we have to make sure that in the zoning bylaw that is still compatible, or it's implementing the requirements of the official community plan. For example, let's just say that we wanted to, on supportive housing, right now we have, hypothetically, let's just say that we're required to do 10 parking stalls. We, through the official community plan, can say we're going to change that to 3 parking stalls. So we're helping them get through the process a little bit quicker because they're not needing to meet whatever requirements are. We could look at changing the development cost charges requirements. We can exempt those types of individuals from things like that. There's a whole bunch at this particular point in time that I would suggest that we just do an amendment official community plan, because I forget what year it is, 2028? The province is going to require us to do an updated plan, a new plan at that particular point in time. So at this point in time, and we have to meet the legislation requirements by having this in place by December 2025. I would suggest that we just keep it for these 3 issues, and then we look through the zoning bylaw and see how we can streamline the process, the development approvals process for those types of housing structures, and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. So just, can I summarize this? So we're looking on, this is approval of a consultation plan, and the results of the consultation may help inform either amendments to our zoning bylaw and or the official community plan, depending on what we hear and what staff recommends. Is that correct? So is that after this consultation, that's the next step?
That is correct. After we get all that information, we devise the policies and procedures, come back and share it with council, and get permission to set up an open house, and away we go. And then we still have to do the formal public hearing process at the end of all of this as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. So this would just help us as a council and a village understand what changes, if any, we need to make to the bylaws and OCP to be compliant with the housing directives that the province has imposed on us. Does that help, Councillor Swimers, answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Talon. Yeah, I just wanted to see if we needed to open up the OCP and do it all over again, but it sounds like that's a big exercise. I'm surprised to hear that we haven't looked at the zoning bylaw since 2017. It's a long time. I was thinking that, you know, the current OCP was started in 2022, right in the height of COVID. I was hoping that maybe we could look at it again, but if we can make some amendments to it, then I think that's very useful instead of opening it up wide open again. I'm in favor of this consultation process as long as it involves the community. I would like to see a couple of open houses. I know that your recommended approach is to involve the community, which I think is great. So I would hope that council would support having as much community involvement in this as possible, because things have changed over the last 3 or 4 years for sure.
Mr. Cossey, can you clarify or confirm if part of this consultation plan includes open houses?
There is one open house that we've got in there right now, is suggested, and if council wishes, they can change that to 2, 3, or 4, whatever the council deems is appropriate, because you have to consider these options, and this is part of the consideration. If you want to stay at 1, that's fine. If you want to go to whatever number council wishes, that's also fine.
Mr. Cossey, for tonight's purposes, if we have one public community open house, and as a result of that, are we allowed to have a second one if needed, based on feedback and how whatever occurs during the first one?
Yes, when the information comes forward, and if council doesn't seem it as appropriate, they can direct us to go back and do it all over again.
Thank you, Mr. Cossey. Any other comments, discussion? Councillor Batcho?
Thank you. Yeah, and also we do have the other areas for people to participate as well, as we all know. Is it still Here's Harrison, whatever it's called, the platform that we have for replying to these, if you're not able to make the open houses?
CAO?
For clarification, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. It'll be, we'll engage through Get Into It Harrison like we did last time as well.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, and that is approved and carries unanimously. Next item, corporate officer.
Thank you. Moving on to item 15C, the report of Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2024 Statement of Financial Information.
Go ahead, CFO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm here tonight to seek approval of the 2024 Statement of Financial Information, which is also known as the SOFI. The Statement of Financial Information is a statutory requirement under the Financial Information Act, which must be approved by Council and filed to the province by June 30th each year. This document has been prepared under the guidelines of the Financial Information Act and is attached to this report for Council's review. Therefore, the recommendation is that the 2024 Statement of Financial Information be approved. Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion on the motion. It's a spellbinding report. Thank you, CFO. There is no discussion or comments or questions. I'll call the vote on it. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you, CFO. Corporate officer, the next item, please.
Our final staff report is one from our Community Services Manager regarding the 2025 grants to groups.
Go ahead, Community Service Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. The village allocates funding to community groups annually through its Grants to Groups program, outlined in the village's grant policy number 1.02. This grant program is intended to help fund initiatives that enhance the overall well-being of the village of Harrison Hot Springs. Community groups offering events and services that facilitate the arts, cultural, recreational, environmental enhancement, or social service functions that benefit Harrison Hot Springs residents are eligible to apply. The budgeted amount for this program in 2025 is $7,650. The village received 8 applications for funding, totaling $19,823. As per the village's grant policy, staff reviewed all applications based on need and contribution to the community. Thorough budget reviews were conducted, including all past accounting statements from prior grant funds received. Attached to this report is a table outlining 2023 and 2024 funds received, 2025 funds requested, 2025 staff funding recommendations, and the proposed use of funds as identified on the application forms. As you will see there, with the requests far exceeding the budget, staff have composed some recommendations that are here tonight for council to approve or make adjustments. So maybe I would like to, before I read all these out, Mayor Tallon, do you want me to read these exact numbers and totals, or just?
I don't think that's necessary. We have the information in front of us, and it's a very easy to follow and read table. Thank you.
So the recommendation then would be that the following community groups be provided with funding under the Grants to Group program.
Move the recommendation, you will.
Moved by Councillor Faccio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Through you to our Community Services Manager. I just noticed that Hope Mountain Center for Outdoor Learning, I believe this is the first time they have submitted for a grant. So just perhaps you could enlighten me exactly what this organization does and how, you know, it would benefit us here in Harrison. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Through you to Councillor Vital. They offer programming for students of Harrison Hot Springs Elementary and to bring their outdoor learning programs to the school here. So they currently are supported a bit with some funding from School District 78, but not enough to offset the program costs in Harrison. So from their application, the program cost in the village of Harrison Hot Springs is approximately $9,140 for this organization in the school year. So they were applying for half of the program cost. To my understanding, it was the first time that they have applied to the Grants to Group program. And as we had the 8 community groups, we tried to sort of allocate out accordingly within our budget.
Thank you. I like it. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? Councillor Schweinmetz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Just before we, I'm in support of all of this, but I should mention, I might have had to have done this at the beginning, that I am a member, as are you, of the Fraser Valley Paddling Club, so I'll recuse myself from that decision and let you guys have at it, but I'm supportive of everything else. Thank you.
CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're just checking to ensure that we can move forward. So if you just pause a moment, please.
Thank you. If I could speak to that?
Go ahead, Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. So if a member of council is declaring a conflict of interest, that member of council has to step out for the vote on that matter. And they can't participate in any discussion, and that's pursuant to the community charter.
Councillor Swinebenz, I acknowledge that you and myself are both members of the Fraser Valley Paddling Club. I spoke with, I'm also a member of the Agassiz Harrison Community Services, so I'm also a member of that. I did speak with the CAO and corporate officer whether membership in a society rises to the level of conflict. I don't feel conflicted, and neither the corporate officer nor CAO thought that that created a conflict for myself. But again, are you declaring a conflict because of membership? I just need a clarification, and we can proceed.
Well, I just want it to be known that I'm a member of a benefiting organization, so I probably shouldn't vote on that particular one if I'm able to peel that one away from the decision-making process.
Corporate officer, I think if I understand what was said before, then you should recuse yourself from the meeting and the vote on this. And that creates an awkward situation for myself as chair, because I am also a member of these things, although I don't feel conflicted. But are you declaring a conflict that would require yourself to recuse yourself?
I'll seek advice from Amanda.
Corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. So section 104 of the community charter, 104.1D states that the conflict of interest sections of the community charter and requirements to recuse yourself do not apply if the pecuniary interest is so remote or insignificant that it cannot reasonably be regarded as likely to influence the member in relation to the matter. If by being a member, paying a simple membership fee, you don't feel that you're in conflict, it's up to the member of council to declare that conflict. It might be different if you are on the board of, or an executive member who makes decisions for that society. But ultimately, it's up to the member of council, and if there is a declaration of a conflict of interest, then section 101 of the community charter applies, and there are various steps that that member of council would have to take. Thank you.
Thank you, corporate officer. And then I relinquish the chair to our deputy mayor, and I will recuse myself as well.
Well, thank you, councillors. Do we have any further discussion needed on that recommendation at all? Seeing none, I will then call the vote. All in favor? No opposition. The recommendation passes. Thank you.
Did they win?
All right, Mayor Talon, I'll turn it back over to you then.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Vital. I'm presuming item D is now concluded and we're moving on to bylaws. There's nothing on bylaws on this agenda. New business. Councillor Faccio, the smoking signs and clarification of those.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I would like our staff to move forward and review the existing signs and add more in regards to smoking, the smoking of all tobacco types of products, including marijuana and any inhaling or any regular cigarettes. I know we do have the signs on the beach that indicate about no smoking, but I believe that and I believe the bylaw that we have does relate it to all public areas. So I believe it's going to be, I don't know how much signage, but I would also like the esplanade as well, because there's a whole lot of businesses there with patios as well. And I don't think they should have to put up with any type of smoking while you're having your lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever the case may be. So I would like them to review the existing ones and then move forward to putting up more signage, and also change the signage on our large boards on the beach as well, to make sure that our bylaw officers have all the tools they need if they have to pull up anybody to enforce the bylaw, or to obviously to warn them for the first time, I assume. So that's my motion for the extra signage dealing with all types of smoking of products.
If okay, if I might, Councillor Faccio, summarize your motion as review the non-smoking signage location, make sure they're sufficient, and to make sure the signs address all manner of smoking, whether it's cannabis or tobacco or vaping or other types of things. Does that summarize it?
If they're not signage, there should be more added. They have to, I believe, on Esplanade.
On public,
Yeah.
okay, on village public lands.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that sufficiently clear, Corporate Officer CAO?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I think with the recent updates, I believe that marijuana and the vape, I believe, the electronic cigarettes are missing, and we'll have to review all locations and ensure that they have been placed there.
Thank you.
So Councillor Faccio moved that, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Any further discussion? I see none. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. I don't believe there's any notices of motion tonight, but I'll ask. Don't see any, which takes us to item 19 on our agenda, which is question periods for items relevant to the agenda this evening. Are there any questions from anyone attending in person tonight? Yes, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. John Allen, 398 Hot Springs Road. Item number 15 on your agenda dealt with the amendment to the rezoning and approval of the new development on the old Bungalow Court property, crossing Lillooet Avenue, a provincial highway at Spruce Street. And my question is, why would you allow the developer and the Ministry of Highways to fail to deal with what is a very serious and dangerous road crossing? That is where most of the people from the residential area cross Lillooet Avenue to access Rendell Park and to start their walk around the lagoon, whether it be clockwise or anti-clockwise. It's a very bad corner because there is a grade separation. The traffic coming from the east comes over the top of a little hump and down a hill into a hollow. The new building, which is going on the bungalow court property, has an acute corner, and that is going to cut off the line of sight for traffic coming out of the boat launch area. When the first plan for Harrison, Plan 251, was laid out in 1889, they actually had laid out that junction as a plaza with a fountain in the center, which would have forced the traffic to circulate around that fountain. And I think that unless you deal with that traffic situation now, that's going to present a great hazard in the future. One of the things that wasn't apparent from any of the studies that I saw from the developer or his consultants is the fact that the large lot on this side of the church on Spruce Street, which was Reuben Radke's home for many years, most of that lot is actually village property. It looks like it's all part of the house. It's not. The big tree in the center and most of the open land area that you see there is actually our property. It belongs to the village of Harrison Hot Springs. It was dedicated as a municipal road both in 1889 and 1949. And we could, if the planners were taking the traffic hazard at that point seriously, we could use that piece of land to try and solve a dangerous crosswalk situation. Putting a crosswalk, as they have recommended here, across Spruce Street really does nothing to solve the problem. The problem is heavy traffic on the highway, Lillooet Avenue, including industrial traffic, lots of RVs, people just passing through town. It needs not just a crosswalk, it needs a well-illuminated and lighted and marked crosswalk, because if you've spent any time watching people trying to cross the road safely at that point, you will know it's difficult to do so safely. If you're coming in from the south on Spruce Street, it's not too bad because you've got a good line of sight at an open angle in each direction. If you're coming from Rendell Park or the boat launch ramp, it's more difficult to see backwards, back around the corners. So I just think that council should not leave this issue alone and deal with it so lightly. And I'd like to ask if you would consider going back and reviewing it and making somebody, Highways or the developer, come up with some better solutions to pedestrian safety in that area. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It's a matter that the Ministry of Transportation has said they do not support a crosswalk there at this time. And otherwise, so council was asked to consider amending some of the conditions so that the process, the development could proceed and not be frustrated by a third party, which is outside the control of the developer. I'm certain that our staff and council are always interested in public safety and road crossings that ensure safety. The last thing anyone wants to see is accidents. And with the upgrades and improvements, repaving, et cetera, happening on Lillooet and Harrison Hot Springs Road this summer, I'm sure there'll be opportunities for further discussions with the Ministry of Transportation to find ways to enhance safety for pedestrians crossing those roads. Are there any questions from anyone on Zoom tonight?
If anyone on Zoom has a question, just push the raise your hand button, please. No questions on Zoom, Your Worship.
Thank you, CFO. With that, we have item 20, which
I
is
I have
adjournment.
another question, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to adjourn. I've called for.
I have another question about the statement of financial information.
Mr. Allen, you were allotted 2 minutes. You spoke for 4, and you didn't really make a question. So if you have another question, you can send it in writing to any councillor, myself, or to our other ways of communicating the village office, and you'll get an answer, or it can wait till the following meeting, perhaps. I've called for a motion to adjourn, and there is a
think that's
motion to
rude.
adjourn. It's moved by Councillor Fascio on the floor, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion to that motion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And we're adjourned for this evening. Thank you, everybody.